Hello, it's Natasha Gwines.
Gwines, sorry.
No worries.
Welcome.
I have prepared a written statement that I plan to read based on the level of trauma and impact that it had on me. So, I want to first start by thanking the committee for providing a space for this difficult conversation on the topic of decriminalization of sex work in your state and my home state, Louisiana. My name is Natasha Gwines, and I am the founder and president of Her Resiliency Center. At Her, we support young women overcoming various forms of hardships and barriers to having a thriving future. Today, as I'm here as an organizational leader, survivor, and advocate against HB 67. Truthfully, it was not easy to put my words on this paper or even get on the plane last night to travel here. The brutal childhood abuse, neglect, and overall trauma that I still carry in my body happened here in Louisiana. Like so many of the young women we serve, I endured a great deal of brutal abuse. For me, it was at the hands of my drug addict father. There was no protection as my mom left me and my little sister with our dad after he refused to pay child support, saying that she couldn't afford us. The level of poverty we grew up in, characterized by such things such as taking cold baths and being known as the smelly kids in elementary school, is the reason that this brutality we endured went unnoticed by identified protectors, such as teachers and principals. Like me and the women we serve, I wanted as far away from that life. And for me, it was like running towards my dream in Washington, D.C. After a short period of time of being there, I realized I had no way to make any money, and I opened a phone. I had a neighbor who suggested sex work and my ability to entertain men. Together, we sat down with the phone book because it was 2001, and we called a number of phone numbers. The only one to answer that day was Deborah Jean Palfrey, now known as the DC Madam. At 20 years old, with no means to care for myself, I began selling my body to 3 strangers a night. Years later, after doing a lot of work on myself, I now support women who find themselves in the exact predicament that I was once in, without options. And through my own therapy, substance use recovery of 19 years, and working with other young women, I've come to recognize that the DC Madam was a sex trafficker. She would meet the legal definition of a sex trafficker, which I'm sure you've heard today, by the use of force, fraud, or coercion. And for me and the DC Madam, it was her constant and ongoing coercion, which she used to ensure her profit. This next part I must share is what ensured that I got on my flight last night.
30 seconds, ma'am.
It is well known that Senator David Vitter, a former Louisiana state representative and a United States senator, was a client of the DC Madam. I cannot be here today and say that David Vitter bought sex with me. I can't because of the legal implications and because during that time I spent a good deal of my life self-medicating with crack and whiskey. But it can go on the record that he was a client of the DC Madam, for which used a great deal of coercion to keep me going. With all due respect, can any of you tell the difference between sex work and sex trafficking? I couldn't tell the difference, and I lived it. Nor can many of the young women we serve every day.